Welcome to another episode of Voice of the Ville. I'm your host, Jerry Cervantes.
Jeff Lemore, the one and only.
Linda Michelle, voice of the Ville.
Jim Alexandre, voice of the Ville.
And I'm Nathan Broadhurst, Albertville City Council, Place 5.
Very special guest today, President of the Council, Nathan Broadhurst. He's been serving our city since 2010 when he was appointed, and then he got elected in 2012. So he's been here. He's had a lot of experience so far in this community, and we're very excited to get a conversation with him today.
Yeah, I'm very excited too. He was appointed in Carrie Neil Smith's Smith spot on the council. He's been serving the community since 2010. I know Nathan fairly well, and I think he's quite a gentleman, great guy. He's quiet, and most people have a problem with that. you know. So Nathan, how did you feel when you first got elected on that spot on the council? I mean, not elected, appointed.
Sure.
On that spot.
Well, I felt like I needed to apply for it. I was one of nearly 20 people in the community that applied for the open position.
Mm-hmm.
And, several of them had served on the city council before, and I knew were very involved and influential people in the community. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I'd only lived in Albertville for about 6 years. So I was relatively unknown to a lot of people, didn't grow up here. So I think to the community at large, it was kind of a surprise when I got the appointment. But I feel like the council at the time, liked the fact that I was younger.
Right.
I was in my mid-20s at the time. So I was highly motivated to be involved. In fact, I was actually in the middle of another political campaign, my first one, when I got that appointment. So I was very much learning about the needs of the community and what needed to be addressed. But a big part of my motivation was the fact that there wasn't a lot of young representation,
Right.
Either on the local, state, or federal level. So I felt like my voice was relatively unheard,
Right.
in politics, which was ultimately what kind of pushed me into it.
And you're referring to 2010, you was running against Kerry Rich for District 26.
Right.
Shout out to Bark, by the way. And Kerry Rich was he older?
He was. He'd actually served 2 times before from other districts.
Yes.
Before he ran for that.
And he did work. He worked well with Clay Schofield, and I know they accomplished a lot together. I know one of the bill that I think was dead in the House of Representatives was the bill Ben McGowan was part of for the signs blocking the state waterways. Mm-hmm. And so how did that feel, running against a guy like Kerry Rich?
Well, like I said, I was brand new to politics, relatively new to the area. But I announced my candidacy for that race in 2009 before anybody else had even got into it. At the time, it was Frank McDaniel who had been in there for decades, mm-hmm. serving the city very well. But he had intended not to run again. So It was an open seat. And it was me and Kerry and about 6 other people that ran for that seat. And, it was, I have a lot of respect for Kerry. We kind of developed a relationship through that campaign. And of course, afterward, we worked on a lot of things together since he represented Albertville in the State House for many years. Pretty much the entire time I've been on the council, he was our State House representative. So
it sounds like you got to a jump start on your political campaign. You were going against dudes that have been involved already, seasoned vets. So I want to move forward to what are some of the biggest accomplishments and projects that you've worked on here in Albertville so far?
Well, I take a lot of pride in what I was able to do for those first couple of years after I was appointed. So, anytime you end up in a new job of any kind, whether it's politics or anything else, you have a lot of learning to do. And for the first, several months, I just kind of learned what it was to be a city councilman and all of the roles that you have to fulfill and the obligations you have in the community. Um,
And this was right after the tornado in 2010, was
it,
it not?
it was, it was about, I guess it was about a month after the tornado
Wow.
had hit. So, that put a big financial strain on the city.
It did.
And of course, prior to that, the downturn in '08, which really hit Albertville full force in '09, had put even more of a strain on the city's budget. Um, we had dropped nearly $3 million a year in what our normal revenue had been,
Wow.
which at that time, was less than $12 million a year. So you're talking about a significant drop in revenue. And they were not able to give raises, not able to hire new people. So there were a lot of difficult things that the city was going through. And then, of course, the tornado happened, which compounded that even more.
Mm-hmm. Let's pause for a second. Too much politics. Let's talk about you personally.
Sure.
Are you a man of faith?
I am.
Yeah.
I would, we attend Life Point Church here in
That's a good
Albertville.
church.
We have been since 2010, actually. I had previously attended First Baptist when I first moved to Albertville. But me and my wife and our older kids all serve in the children's ministry there. We try to
You're a youth
serve.
pastor? Youth pastor?
No, it's kids ministry. So
Kids
I do
ministry.
elementary.
Shout out to Q with Life Point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Q's a big
Shout out
part.
to Clay.
Clay, yeah.
Clay too. Yeah.
Clay, yeah.
It takes a big team of people, not just Q and Clay and Matt and all of the staff members, but a lot of volunteers that make a church like that run. So we're proud to be a part of it. But I would say I'm really guided by faith,
Yeah.
focused on family,
Mm-hmm.
and driven by service.
Well, I
That's how would
can
say.
tell. I see you with the wife and kid all the time out and about.
My family's a big part of my life. I feel like, when I manage my time and resources, I probably give more to them than anything.
Let's repeat that. Guided by faith, focused on family,
Wow.
Driven by service.
and driven by service.
Let me ask you a question. What's your favorite place to eat? I'm putting you. I'm trying.
You
to get
can't
in
do
trouble
that to
with
me.
that.
There are too many great restaurants. Isn't that a great thing to say about Albertville? Because I can tell you, 15 years ago, it would be difficult to say. There's so many great places to eat in Albertville.
Seriously.
How
What's
do you
your favorite
pick?
food?
Our favorite food's got to be Mexican, man.
Oh, you gonna say Gordo? Hey, Jerry.
We love Gordo's. I'm not gonna call anybody out.
Did Jerry
I feel like that's
pay you to
political
say that?
suicide.
Did Jerry pay you to say that?
Not at all. Not at all, right?
I'm gonna
Just
tell you,
with
if we're-
love, Jerry.
Only in tacos.
Only on tacos.
if we're having a difficult time deciding what we're gonna have for dinner, you can always default.
You need to
My
try
wife will
some.
say Mexican for sure. So
You need to try some Haitian food.
I hear you. I do.
Yeah, some Caribbean spice, Jamaican food.
I love
think
spicy
really-
food.
You love spicy food. and
Yeah,
you
well,
love pickles, man.
yeah,
Gotcha.
my
Man, that pickles. Yeah.
Man, I love seeing Mayor at La Poblana. He goes up there to get some food, and they give him the most spiciest pepper. I was like, dang it, y'all trying to kill my mayor?
Oh, I don't think spice can kill Tracy. When I first met Tracy, we were eating lunch and he pulled out a little mini Tabasco sauce, so evidently he carries it everywhere he goes. So he's definitely not
He's
afraid
like-
of the spice, man.
And then the funniest thing is he'll be in the high traffic area, and I'm like, Mayor, you can't do that, man. Let's go sit somewhere in the corner. He's like, nah, we good, Jeffro. He calls me Jeffro. He's like, we good, Jeffro. But yeah, he's a cool guy, man.
Well, my mom's side of the family is actually from New Orleans or Baton Rouge area.
Oh, okay,
So
so-
there's a lot of Cajun history and
You don't be doing juju.
we have a family recipe for gumbo, so I'm a spicy food fan for
When
sure.
I was a truck driver, the number one advice I got is when I go to New Orleans, don't mess with a Creole girl. They'll do juju on you. Now I'm married to a Creole girl.
Yeah. Now we know what happened, right?
Yeah.
But if we got it back around back to politics, how do you feel about when it comes to terms having a time limit on terms?
Well, to be honest with you, I've always felt like I've been a proponent of term limits, but not necessarily on a local level. I think you have to look at the closeness of government. You
Right.
know, to me, the founders when they created America, it was very much around smaller government.
Smaller government.
And the idea was that the larger a government is, the more danger it is
Mm-hmm.
to individual liberty. And I feel like individual liberty is a natural right that God gives all of us.
And that's
You ought to be free to live your life how you want to live, invest your resources how you want to invest them, and manage your property how you want to manage it.
exactly.
So
Sovereignty.
yeah,
Sovereignty.
so I feel like, you know, on a national level, I don't have the cell phone number to our state senator or our U.S. senators. Do any of y'all? I mean, are they your friend or neighbor?
Well, I know some of them.
They're not.
Well,
So, you know, the disconnect from somebody that serves on that level that represents millions of people, it's difficult for that person to have a personal connection. So I can see the benefit of term limits, especially when you consider special interests on a national level and
Well,
even on a state level.
mhm.
You get into businesses and you know, PAC money and all of that. And I think limiting the time for people like that makes a lot of sense. But on a local level, we're, you know, me and the other council members and the mayor, you want to find us, it's not difficult to do. You know, my business is just a block away here downtown. If you want to meet with me, you can come right through the front door, you know. And I think when government is that close to you, the importance of term limits is
It's
just not there.
Yeah.
Because it's closer and it's able to be more responsive.
When he mean you can find him, you can find him. Because every fundraiser, I found him.
So, I have a question for you. So, how has your leadership style evolved since taking on this role?
That's a great question, and I definitely feel like it has. As I mentioned earlier, you know, when I first jumped into politics in that House race, I was young, and I would characterize myself as being very idealistic. You know, very much it's black and white, this and this and this. Once I spent some time working with the city, I definitely feel like I've become more of a pragmatist. It's about here is the problem, what is a solution that makes sense to it. Um, I would also say, you know, I was not as patient of a person or a leader when I first got on there. You know, you say, here's what needs to happen, let's do it right away. Well, when especially in government, but in any organization, it's hard to change things that quickly because you have other people that you have to create buy-in with. You also need to get feedback from other viewpoints. You know, I think that's something we've done very good with the group we have right now. Is there are obviously varying viewpoints. I mean, you can't get five people to agree on everything all the time, no matter what. You can't get two people to agree on everything. Just ask my wife.
Well,
You know what I mean? But you got to find a way to talk it out and come up with what everybody agrees is the best solution moving forward. And I would say just that ability to work together as a team is where I feel like I've grown the most, being part of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely as a leader, observing, listening, communicating, and evolving is all steps that need to be involved. So I want to evolve the conversation. I want to ask you, why do you think Miguel Corona wants to run against you?
Well, that's a question I've asked myself. But you know, uh, the conclusion I've come to is you can't ever really know the heart or mind of another person. Um, and so it's difficult for me to say this is what somebody's motivation may not be to run against me. Now, I don't know Miguel that well. I would say, you know, probably less than a handful of times we've actually talked for more than a few minutes. But I do know that he's very involved in the community, very much gives back to the schools, especially with his time and resources. And that's important. I mean, that's what community is all about. I continually tell people, you know, it's not just about the city council. It's not just about the mayor. A lot of the good things that happen in Albertville and have happened haven't been things that we've done. It's been things that the community has risen up and done on their own. So
True.
I certainly respect him for that and appreciate all that he puts into our community.
Hmm.
And I wasn't surprised that he decided to run. I was a little surprised he decided to run
Do you
against
think?
me, because I do feel like there's a lot of crossover in people that support him and
Yeah.
people that support me. You know,
Hmm.
we're similar ages. I'm a little older than he is, but we have kids that are similar ages, and
Right.
his wife has worked for the school system. My wife has worked for the school system. There's a lot of crossover where I feel like it may be more difficult for him to run against me because there's support that's going to be divided.
Agreed.
I do have to say, and I will look straight at the camera and say this: the fact that you came here to speak with us speaks a lot about what
Mm-hmm.
you're all about. The fact
Thank
that
you.
you take the time, as busy as you are, you're not too busy to come and let the community knows your dream, your plans. We just want you to know we really appreciate that.
And do you think that Miguel running against you have anything to do with you guys interviewing for the school boards and him not being able to be on the school boards?
Well,
Was it you and
he
Jill?
has not told me that.
Yeah.
I have heard that from other members of the community, but I'll take an opportunity just to go through the process that we adopted in doing that. And I'll say that Miss Oakley was one of the big drivers behind it because she applied for the school board herself before and did not get it. So when she
Miss
did,
Oakley,
yes,
Councilwoman Jill Oakley.
Councilwoman Oakley,
Mhm.
yes. So when she came on board in 12, she really advocated that we create a clear, accountable process on how we would appoint school board members. Um, and so we all agreed with that. We went through it, went back and forth, and adopted a resolution that said, "Here is the process that we will follow, and the guidelines that we will go through." And that process starts with an open application for anybody who wants to apply, and that even if the current school board member wants to reapply and have the job again for another 5 years, we still have open applications and interviews every single time somebody comes up for
Well,
reappointment.
well, I got a question. So the school board, for instance, are you on board with versus the city council appointing somebody into the school board? Are you on board with election? Let the people elect who serve in their school boards, since it has to do with their kids.
Sure, sure. There are plenty of cities that do it. Of course, the county level is by election. So, I certainly would not be opposed, to considering something like that. It would be, if I understand it correctly, it would be something that would have to be on the ballot first, where the citizens would have to vote to change it to that, and then you would be able to have
Would you
elections.
push for that?
I don't know that I would necessarily advocate for it. To be honest with you, I haven't done a lot of research about what an elected school board would look like. I do feel like the process that we use, we are able to, it's like somebody applying for any other job, with the city, probably even more so uh, important because in that initial interview process, you sit down. It happens to be me because I'm the council president, but it's the council president, the chairman of the committee that oversees the school board, which is Councilwoman Oakley, and then a member of the general public, which in the past we've normally looked for somebody who serves on the city school foundation or maybe a past school board member, but somebody who's got some relevant experience about the school system.
Who's the president of the school board right now?
It's Melissa McKee.
Okay.
Um,
1 second. I got a question
Sure.
for you. So I remember at one point the city was carrying $50 million worth of debt from the school system from building the new school project and also the sewage project from MUB. And I know that there was a lot of regulation against removing that off your books. How did you guys went about getting the debts, $50 million worth of debts off the books? Because I know that if I'm an investor, that's not going to look too good to know that you guys are $50 million worth of debt is carrying within the books. So
Sure.
explain that. How did that process work to get it clear off?
Sure. Well, that started as one of our number one goals when the new group came in, and it was kind of a carryover. And I didn't finish an idea that was actually an answer to your question earlier. But one of my proudest accomplishments in that first 2 years when I was appointed was I was able to draft and get adopted the city's first finance ordinance. Up until that point, we pretty much, the mayor proposed a budget when he was ready to, and the council would adopt it sometime after that. My experience was in that first year, we did not get a budget proposal until 6 months into the fiscal year. So our fiscal year starts in October. We got a budget proposal from the mayor 6 months later in March. That's not a good way to manage money. And because of the way we were managing our money, our monthly reports were way behind. Our budgeting was way behind, and it was hurting the city's financial standing significantly. During that period, the mayor brought a project to us of a family entertainment center where the city was going to partner with them to build the facility and they were going to operate it. We went to the bond market to consider doing that, and our credit rating was actually downgraded to a triple B plus at that point because our monthly reporting was bad and our budgeting was not on time. So after that happened, I kind of took that as my number one issue and I pressed the council to get unified on it. Let's do something about this. Let's fix the city's finances, because I knew if we were going to have any kind of retail development, we were going to have to partner and incentivize it and borrow money and issue debt to partner with those developers to do it. And at that point, we were not able to do that. We couldn't get a bond insured because our finances were so poor.
And was with the two debts that I mentioned that was on the book, did it carry it away?
So it did. So leading to that, that was kind of the first step, because we passed that finance ordinance. Shortly thereafter, I was introduced to David Langham. He's our investment banker now. I actually met him before the new mayor and council had come in 12. Me and a prior council member had lunch with him, and he basically just said, I reviewed every debt that the city has. There's nothing that I can do for you now. But what my commitment to you is I will watch your debt. I'll watch the market. And if there's ever anything that we can do, I'll reach out to you. Well, shortly after that, we got a whole new council and mayor, except for me. And David reached back out and he's like, well, can you help introduce me to everybody? Let's see if we can do anything. So I had one-on-ones with him and every council member and the mayor, introduced them all to him. And shortly thereafter, he found some savings for us to refund some debt where we were going to save a couple $100,000 a year refunding it and refinancing it.
So there you have it. It's your fault we're in a financial surplus right now.
No, it's not just me.
Abundance.
Salute to you, man.
I just tried to, like I said, I do take a lot of pride in the fact that, and I think that the conversation that was going on in the community when I was pushing for financial reform really changed the way people voted in 12. You get somebody like a Charles Bailey who has a degree in finance and runs a small business. You get a Ben McGowan who had spent decades with the U.S. government and managing multi-million-dollar budgets.
And you get a Nathan Broadhurst that understands state constitution.
You get Tracy Honey, who is a small business owner. I think the city said it's really important for us to make sure that the city's finances run well.
One more question. I got a question.
To answer your question about the debt. So shortly after the city did it, David came to us and he said, you guys are carrying the debt for two other entities, but you're showing none of the revenue. Right. And so when somebody looks from the outside in at your books, it looks like you're carrying way too much debt based on your income. He said, I've worked with an attorney out of Birmingham who has moved school systems to an independent operation where they've got their own credit rating, they can issue their own debt and all of that. Now, utility boards had been doing that for a while, so there was already a state authorization for them to do it, but we had to write one for the school. So we approached MUB and we approached the school and said, this is what we want to do. Obviously, we're not going to force you to do it unless it makes sense. So if you look back and read some of the articles at that time, David's like, we're not going to move it off of the city to the school or to MUB unless it's going to create a savings. Right. So it's going to cost them less to maintain the debt than it's costing you today, or we're not going to move it yet.
Okay.
So it's not a bad deal. And that really cleaned up the books. It
Okay.
made it look a whole lot better. And when we did have the opportunity to incentivize the shops of Albertville with Hobby Lobby and TJ Maxx and all of that, we did so with an improved credit rating, a better rate on bond insurance, and all of those things. So it saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars to clean up the city's books.
Right. So since we're talking about the bonds, and I got another question following that, because I'm learning over here, right? So explain the bonds right now from 2012 and right now, or from the time he took office and right now. Where do we stand with the bonds today?
Well, we have issued bonds primarily for economic incentives, and then, of course, for Sand Mountain Park and Amphitheater. When we did the initial bonds for the park, we did include some additional money for infrastructure like paving. And that kind of started the big paving push that we did because the council agreed if we were going to increase revenue. At that point, when we decided to build the park, we did raise sales tax by a penny. But the commitment was if we do it, all of it's going to be dedicated to capital improvement infrastructure, whether it's building a facility or paving roads or whatever, and that a portion of it definitely had to be committed to road paving and infrastructure, not just build the park. So since then, we've used that to do that as well.
What Abbeville is 26 square miles within the city limit. What's the percentage of the roads that you have paved?
Over 60% have been paved since
wait,
2015.
repeat that again.
Over 60%.
Over 60%
since 2015.
And it's time for what?
So that's 10 years.
What's it time for?
It's time for what? You heard that. Over 26%.
And that's another thing I'm very proud of.
60%. I'm sorry, my brain.
Yeah.
Brain's. It's time for what?
So at the same time I was pushing the finance ordinance, my second priority while I was on the council that first 2 years was paving. Because I started doing a lot of research on what we had paved, because that's one of the number one things you hear about. And I'll also tell people something I learned is with paving, you're never done. I don't care how much funding you put towards it. It's one of those things where you're never going to say the job is finished on paving, because as soon as you do, there's going to be a pothole or a crack that comes up that's going to have to be fixed and maintained. So all you can hope to do is have enough funding to keep the paving contractors busy for as much time as they'll give you. That was another thing I learned once we did have some resources. You would think, oh, we're going to, we can pave half the city streets today. Well, a paving contractor, you're not their only customer. Every other city and county and the state is got demand on them on projects they need done too. And what we found is you're basically getting as much as you can out of a paving contractor if you're doing between 10 and 15 miles of road per year. And since 2015, that's about what we've been doing. And the good news about that is, based on a paving evaluation we did, I think it was in 13, because I want to say it was the first year after the new council came in, we had every mile of road evaluated for condition. And the reason we did that is up until then, we were basically just shooting from the seat of our pants on what needed to be paved. It would either be based on the mayor got a call, somebody at City Hall got a call, a council member got a call. Somebody called and said, my road needs paved, so we put it on the list. Well, I was out doing an inspection on a house for my insurance company and went on a road inside the city limits, and it was down to gravel. And I go and look at the paving list, and it's not there.
I remember.
So that's when I started talking to the council about we've got to find a way to make sure we're paving the worst roads first.
Right.
Certainly you want to prioritize roads that get used the most. So sometimes you may pave one that gets a lot of traffic before one that's in worse shape. But we need to know where the worst roads are, and we need to be tackling this in a comprehensive way.
So before 2013, guys, if I understand correctly, is that roads were seldom paved without somebody calling the city hall saying, hey, I need this paved road, I need this, I need that, complaining basically.
Yeah.
until 2013, we started our city hall, our city council started taking account of every mile of road, going and seeing for themselves what needed to be paved and put into the budget.
Yeah.
Interesting. If I may, I'm going to shift gear a little bit. You are the president of the council. So that means we have council member, but you're the president of the council. So tell us a little bit. Um, what does that mean? So
Sure.
what does that mean being the president? What is different between your duties versus your the council members?
Sure.
And the follow up to that question is going to be, how do you currently feel
Mm.
about the staff that you got in hand, the other councilmen and women you are working with,
Mhm.
the current administration in general? Do
Sure.
you feel like it's time for a change in any sort?
Right. Okay.
Well, I'll answer that. I'll answer that
Jimmy.
question.
Okay, Jimmy.
Great
I'll
question.
answer number one first. So, because a lot of people don't realize, and to be honest with you, I really didn't know until I got on the council how all of that happens. A lot of people think, well, you run, to be elected by the citizens as the council president, but that's not the case. So, the citizens elect the 5 members of the council, and then those members elect who is going to be their president. So, out of the 5, somebody would nominate another person and say, I want Nathan to be the council president. Then you'd have a vote, and then they vote on who they want to be the president. We were lucky, and of course, I think maybe it was by default. I'd like to think that they thought I knew what I was doing, and that's why they decided to make me the president. But in 2012, I was the only one that had any experience, even though it was just a couple of years. I was the seasoned veteran at 27 years old. So, but they did select me as their president and have kept me there, the entire time for the last 13 years. And of course, we selected Ben as the pro tems, what they call it, which basically
That's
is
smart.
the vice president, if
Mhm.
you will, of the
Mhm.
council. And we've kept it organized that way from the get go. So part of the duties that come with that, one was a newly created duty that another thing that I kind of brought to the council, which was our committee structure. I mentioned that Jill was over one of the committees that oversees the school board.
Mhm.
Before that, the mayor would appoint council members as what we call a liaison to each department. So, you come in and the mayor would say, all right, you're going to be liaison to the fire department or liaison to the police department. And that's kind of just like an advocate for them. Because all the day-to-day operations and everything are run by the mayor. Mayor makes hiring, firing decisions. Mayor directs employees on what to do. Council, that's outside of our obligations and duties. We're primarily over the finances and over the laws. So we make the laws, we manage the money. Everything else, the mayor pretty much directs. Um, but we felt like the council needed to be more engaged, that there needed to be more accountability and transparency
Mhm.
in some of the boards and more engagement with some of the boards, because I think there had been kind of a disconnect where the board would say somebody's coming up for reappointment, we want them reappointed, with very little engagement with the council. We wanted to make sure there was a pathway for communication between the council and the boards and departments. So I recommended that we adopt a committee structure,
Right.
and we created 5 committees. So, as the council president, you get to appoint those committees.
Okay.
So that's an additional
Well, I don't-
duty that you get, where you say you're going to be the chairman,
Mhm.
of this committee, and
Mhm.
these other members are going to join you. So each committee has a chairman and 2 other members. So everybody is the chairman of one and serves on 2 others. One of them's a finance committee, one of them is public services, one of them is community enhancements, another one is like infrastructure, uh, and the other one is development, building and development, economic development, building department, stuff like that. But each department and board that we oversee is assigned to one of those committees, and they're all able to meet as they will. It's an open meeting because if you got more than 2 council members, it's sunshine law applies. So, it's an open meeting anytime we meet. And finance committee, which is I'm the chairman of the finance committee. We meet quarterly. Um, mainly because part of that finance ordinance that we discussed is a quarterly review of all the city's finances. That's part of what our credit rating agencies look for, is that you've got, quarterly oversight on all the money. So that's part of the duties. And of course, I run the meeting. We're a little bit different than the other cities in the county in that we are large enough of a city that we have what they call separation of powers. So the legislative branch is essentially the council, which I preside over, and then the mayor is the executive branch. He does not vote. So in all the other cities, the mayor is actually the presiding officer over the council,
Right.
and has a vote in all the proceedings. But ours is separated. The mayor does obviously attend all the meetings, but does not have a vote, and does not preside. So I administer all of the council meetings that we have. And of course, that means that most of the time I have to sign any official documents along with the mayor.
So
That says a
Anytime we
lot
borrow
right there.
money,
yeah, it does say a lot.
Mayor Boney trusts
Right.
Nathan Broadhurst to sign on whatever's going to happen in the city.
Right. Let me ask a question.
Well,
So
before you ask that question, there's a
was the
second
part.
part to my
I'm
question.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Should I repeat the question?
you might need to. I'm sorry.
Okay, now that we know what, as president of the council, what you do, now with the current staff you have, the current administration, do you feel that it is time for anything?
Well, I know Justin and his family well.
Well, we naming names. I'm sorry. You know who?
I feel like I have to say it.
Okay.
And
It sounds like you watched the last podcast.
well, I have. But my kids have spent the night at Justin's house, and his kids have spent the night at my house before. And so I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I will just say this: I don't know. I don't know why anybody would want to change the good that's going on in Albertville right now.
Right.
I can tell you from experience, because I served with the prior administration, that when we all got elected, other than Ray, because he came in a term later, when we all got elected, the clear message was work together. Up until that point, the headlines in the newspaper were about the mayor and the council fighting with each other.
Y'all couldn't get anything done.
Couldn't get anything done.
Yeah,
And I saw it firsthand.
Mhm.
The tension was there. And there were factions inside the administration.
The last administration owed me some money, by the way, but they paid me with Arby's card. So
And that did not serve. And that
Arby's.
they paid me with Arby's card.
that kind of environment does not serve the citizens well.
And that's a concern when we look at this particular election right now. And one of the questions I often ask, something is not broken, why fix it? And not to say that change is not good. Change can be a great thing when it is absolutely needed. And so far, and I'm just going to speak for myself in this case here, I'm not sure if there's a change needed. I'm not sure what that change is quite yet because of the direction this is going. Now, this is coming from being, U.S. citizen, but, nationality of Haitian. And living in this community, had the opportunity to have a business in this community, to serve the community. I'm just not, and that's part of the reason why I'm involved in this. Is like I'm just not sure that if there's a change, well, what is it? I'm not sure that there's a case that has been made of what that change
Should
is,
be.
and that's why I ask these questions, and especially you, Mr. Nathan, that has been here for so long, and in this current staff, you're the vet.
No, he's the glue holding
He's
them
the glue
together.
holding them
He's
together.
the key.
but I can tell you my opinion about this election. A lot of people don't like Nathan because Nathan is more quiet. I didn't like it, Nathan, at first. You can ask him. Me and him had some back and forth, and now we're great friends. Once you get to know Nathan, you sit down with him. He's a dude that would give you the shirt off his back. So is Miguel, right? I know both of them very well, but Nathan is a great guy. I mean, Nathan, do you know what the food pantries are?
I probably don't know where every food pantry is. That's a good thing, because that just tells you how many people in our community are, paying attention and investing in those people that need things. I know that you've come and asked me for support for the
A
food
lot of
pantries
time
before.
money. Hey, how do I get you every time?
You get me every time, man.
you know, like Nathan. So your opponent just donate. I get him.
I know,
If
that's
these are
right.
somebody else donate, some other insurance agency.
That's right. You always
He's like,
get me
one
with
second. He goes in his computer and print the check. No question asked. This guy. He
Well,
always gives money
like
back.
I said, service, driven by service. I grew up in scouting.
Yeah.
In addition to being raised in a Christian home,
Mm-hmm.
I do scouting teaches you duty to God and duty to country and community, and that's just deeply rooted in who I am. It's the fabric of how I was raised, and so I just feel like anytime that you can help other people, you should.
Mm-hmm. Just by knowing you, Nathan, I feel like you do have a lot of aspiration. And as far as politics go, I mean, I hang out with all the politicians. I sit down with them, have lunch with them, but you do give me that drive as a person. But one thing is, if you're gonna be a politic, you have to be a BSer. Like you have to look at this guy and say, "Hey, man, if the guy said that he can fly, you got to make it sure you believe. You make him feel like you believe that he can fly. So you're not like that. So I feel like hey, maybe this guy won't go far in politics because he's not a BSer. And so with that being said, in a county of 100,000 people, and you were the top three besides David Reed for chairman of the commission of Marshall County, and the other guy was from Arab. So how does that feel, man?
Well, it feels good, to be honest with you. And I felt like it was, I would have loved to have had the opportunity. I invested a lot of time and resources when I ran for that position in 2022.
Personal money, right?
A lot of it, yeah, a lot of it, pretty much all of it.
So you ran the what's the other commissioner that passed away?
Hutchison, James Hutchison,
Mr. Hutchison. Yeah. So you ran against him.
I did,
and then you didn't get it, and then somehow the governor's people qualify you as the top three in the county to become commissioner to fill that role. Right?
I felt like if David had not entered, his application, that it very likely would have gone to me. And the reasons what motivated me to do that is our experience as a city, seeing the lack of leadership and cooperation and all of the things I talked about that have served Albertville so well internally with our council and mayor. None of that's happening on the county level here. And it's holding Albertville as our largest city back, and all the other cities as well. There's a great opportunity to capitalize on the growth of Madison County with Huntsville and Redstone Arsenal and all of the people that are essentially moving in from all over the country to work high-paying, high-tech jobs in Madison County. And there's a great opportunity for us to seize on that. That I think you're going to have partnership from the county to do. Another thing that we struggle with our growth is transportation infrastructure.
We don't have any of that.
431, 205, they are not enough.
Let me ask you a question.
And what I have seen is that the counties that are doing it well, like Madison, like Shelby County, they are partnering city, county, state, and sometimes federal government to do some of these major highway projects. So one of my big things was I want to get in on the county level to try to start building those partnerships so that we can find some real solutions to transportation infrastructure here. Because the city can't fix 431. So the county can't do it either.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Nathan. So how do you stay grounded under the pressures of leadership?
Well, I would. That's a good question as well. I would say, that my faith and family is what really just makes me who I am. we like I said earlier, we invest a lot of time in our family. I try to volunteer coach every little league sport, soccer, t-ball, whatever it is, basketball. Even if I'm not that great of a coach, I want to be there for my kids, and they want me there, so I'm glad to do it, and I get a lot of enjoyment from that. So I love being involved in that, and of course, being involved in our church, and we're part of what we call Life Group at Life Point, where we've got other couples of similar age and their kids are similar age as ours, and we try to do life with them on a regular basis, and of course being around those friends and other families,
Yeah.
just I think helps keep you a real person, and not get caught up in the pressures of it all and all of that.
Let me ask you, back to the commission stuff. All right. Do you still have aspiration to run?
I do not. um, I when I applied the final time, me and my wife, spent a lot of time talking about it, praying about it, and we really went into it with the thought of, if it's meant to be, then it's what will be.
Yeah.
And even though Chairman Reed passed away shortly after he was appointed, once they chose him, we felt like that was, that we believed that it was not meant to be. And so we made the decision as soon as I found out that they were appointing him, that it was time to move forward in a different direction, and I was going to go full steam ahead in my city council race and stay focused on the city.
Do you think that's the reason some people, your opponent, decided to run against you? Maybe because you're not as
I've
focused?
heard some statements to that effect. Of course, I haven't heard them direct from Miguel, and I hate to put words in his mouth.
And
But have heard that
Right.
could be a reason.
and I know the time is short, but I want to get some of my question across. In 2017, you guys passes a 1% tax, 1%. In 2017, you guys passed a 1% tax. Sales tax. Yeah, I did not get the vote of the citizens.
Correct.
Why is that?
You don't for a sales tax increase. The only tax increase a city does that requires a vote is property tax.
Hmm.
So sales tax is completely at the discretion of the city council. A council candidate this time around, who was on the council with me before, um, proposed the 1 cent sales tax back in 2011, I think.
Who was it?
Chuck Ellis.
Chuck
At
Ellis?
that time, my response was, as I already talked about, the city could not look at the people and confidently say, we are managing your money well. We weren't getting monthly reports on time.
Can you say
getting
that now?
budgets done.
Can you
Now
say
we
now?
can. And when we came to the people in 2017, we had originally borrowed the funds to do upgrades to the rec center with the resources that we had. Well, when it came down to it, and we finally got final plans on building one additional gym and doing one new swimming pool to replace the one that was costing us $30,000-$40,000 a year for the leak in the bottom of it, just to fill it with water. So once we got the numbers on that, we couldn't even borrow enough money with the resources we had to build one gym and a swimming pool at the rec center.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, our credit rating had already increased twice.
Mm-hmm.
We had significant retail development ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could confidently come to the people and say, listen, we've spent all the money as wisely as we can. We've invested additional resources in paving. We've invested and allocated additional resources for recreation. But to get you what you're telling us you want for our community, this is what it's going to take. We had multiple public meetings about it.
Mm-hmm.
We had a room full of people at the city council meeting where we proposed doing the park all at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Also talked about the paving that we were going to do with this additional tax increase. And we had very little opposition from people there.
From the
And in fact, when we raised the sales tax, we got a standing ovation from the citizens that were there. So you tell me, I mean, did the citizens want it or did they not?
They didn't
We
want
felt
it.
pretty confident that when we showed them what we would do with it,
But-
and I think with any tax that you come to people with, you owe it to the community to say, not just we need money.
Yeah,
You owe it to them to say, here is what we want to invest this in.
yeah.
And if we had not invested it in what we told people, then that would be a problem. Absolutely. But we've put it in every dime into what we told people we would.
And that's the best sales tax we've ever paid.
Absolutely.
And
No,
then and
It's paying for itself over and over and over again.
Mhm.
It's multiplied itself many, many times.
All right, this is feeling like a podcast, an interview, but let's make it feel like a podcast. What's your favorite singer?
Before we
Come
go
on,
to
come
that,
on,
Yeah,
come on.
we know some more
We
stuff.
gotta ask
Some more
a
stuff.
question.
Listen, we got people here looking.
Okay.
We got minorities
Okay.
there. If they're live on the
Right.
line, this is an election going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, anytime we can go out to eat, show me what you like, fruits. Let's go to Broadhurst Way and talk about it. But right now, what I like to know personally is when we get like, I guess the quote unquote minorities, and you've seen the changes. So let's talk about the changes within the community with the growth of the Hispanic, the growth of the Haitians. What can these folks look forward to? I mean, you got businessmen like myself. You have a lot of poor people. You got Gardner's Way, and you got these businessmen of different cultures.
You got
Sure.
H&J.
And of course,
La
Reggie.
Michoacanita.
Absolutely.
Our first time Haitian
La
market.
Michoacanita, La Plobana, Tacos El Paso.
So, and of course, all the churches in the community that with the growth. Some of these folks are saying, okay, well, we don't see that there need to be a change because everything seems to be going good. We're getting opportunities, but the fear
Sure.
is still there, especially with what's going on right now. It's still there. What can we look forward to? What can you say to these folks to say, look, we have a president of the council that actually has us in mind, that understands us, that gets us, and is not just thinking for one group, but thinking for everybody within the
Sure.
community.
Well, I would go back to something I mentioned earlier, which is foundational to my whole philosophy on government, and that's individual rights and liberty. I feel like every individual, I don't care what nationality, race, color, any of that stuff. It's not me to decide. God has given each and every person certain rights that are given to him not by government but by him, by God.
Amen.
And so I feel like as a city, we don't build walls, we build bridges. And I think that's what you have to do. I think our school system has tried to do that. Our school can't tell you who can and can't come to school. Our city can't say who can and can't live in Albertville. That's not our prerogative. What it is our prerogative to do is make sure that we provide the most welcoming environment for people to fully experience that individual freedom. If you want to open a business or you want to go to school and better your education, it's our job to make sure you've got the services, the infrastructure, and the opportunities to be all that God intended you to be. And I feel like that's what our school system has done well. I feel like that's what our city has done well for the last several years. And I certainly hope that mentality doesn't change. I was part of the council when Hispanic immigration, if you will, was a big issue. It was shortly before the state passed the strongest immigration law in the country. Well, what we found out that largely, almost all of it was unconstitutional and eventually got dismantled. And for a short amount of time, I think it scared some of the immigrant community away. But I would venture to say that it's stronger than it's ever been now. And the law has pretty much had no impact on it. And, so I think hopefully people locally have learned a lesson from that those aren't the things that we should focus on, that focusing on them actually is detrimental to the prosperity of our city. Because when we were focused on that, you know what we weren't focused on? Managing the city's finances. And we were focused on that. What we weren't focused on is paving people's streets, you know. And those are the things the city needs to focus on, what our duties and responsibilities are. And those duties and responsibilities are the same to every citizen, no matter where you came from.
Wow, great answer.
Yeah, it is a great answer. Let's talk about music. Okay, these
We're
people,
doing it anyway.
these people trying to trap you guys with a lot of questions. I love
Any
music.
tax reduction.
Yes, let's talk about music. What's your favorite music, for instance? Entertainment. Let's
Oh
go to
man,
entertainment.
I like a lot of different music. When I was in high school,
You like Johnny Cash?
I was a big alternative rock guy.
Okay.
I used to not like country, but country's grown on me a good bit. Mainly because my wife.
Please say you like Johnny Cash, because I like Johnny Cash.
I do like Johnny Cash.
What was your favorite alternative rock band?
Probably Red Hot Chili Peppers. Has
Okay.
to be.
Red Hot
Yeah.
Chili.
I mean, you can't beat that strong
Shout out
bass
to
line.
them.
You know, Flea up there flicking the
With
bass.
that,
You can't
with that
beat it.
being said, with music, okay, so we used to have the Main Street Festival here in Albertville, right? So that went away with the railroads and the train, you know. So why can't we have a free concert at the park? You know, where citizens can come Friday to Saturday. Are you open to that? Where they can have taco trucks and any kind of food truck lined up. It's a free concert. Maybe 15,000 people can show up, or 15,000 people, between the 2 days can show up and get some entertainment, country music.
I like that.
It should be so. I think it would be good for the citizens to give back a way for the mayor, the city council. The city has given back to the people because we're doing a lot of great things, but we went away with the Main Street Festival. I think, I think that would be a great idea actually for you guys to do that.
I don't disagree with that. I've heard a lot of people that are disappointed we don't have the free concert anymore. Um, we've had other ones other than Main Street before that lasted for a while and then they went away. And I think it takes a lot of work. You got to have an army of volunteers to do it. You have to raise a lot of money locally to pay for the entertainment, because a lot of people had a misconception it's the city putting it on, but really the big sponsor banners you saw on the stages, those local businesses were really the ones putting
And
it
they
on.
not still do that.
They could.
I mean, why don't you guys try? I mean, is there a way you can try to get that done?
It's possible.
You
Never say never.
I want entertainment, man.
Drop down in the comments if you want a free concert here every year like we used to have.
I mean, that used to be a Albertville tradition, and I feel like if you do it now, I'll sell more.
Which let me change my words. It's not free, we gotta sponsor
That's right.
businesses, but with all that, we have more increase of traffic. We're gonna sell more tacos. Jeff's gonna sell a couple more cars.
Yes,
So I mean,
That's right.
I need that to stay in business, guys. I mean, all right, let's talk about the annual inspection with the rental properties you guys do every year. Talk about that process with the annual inspection.
Yeah.
I got something in the mail. A lot of people did. So
yeah, absolutely. We have taken a closer look at a lot of our ordinance. Actually, right now we're working on a total recodifications, what they call it, of our ordinance book, where we're going through every single law we have to see whether it's relevant, how, if it still applies. We got some from 1913 that are still on there, and they're not quite as relevant as they used to be. And a lot of them state, the state has actually passed laws that govern the entire state. So we don't really need to duplicate it or contradict it with an older law. So a lot of it's just clean up. But that process has been ongoing really for over a year.
The cleanup process
of the codes. And to your point about the rentals, that's one of the things that we have had attorneys review some of this to make sure that what we're doing is legal. At one time, a prior
was it because of Albertville slums? A lot of your people, a lot of people on the internet say that you guys are doing stuff like that because of Albertville slumlords, the website. And
well, I'm not really familiar with that. I don't get on a lot
concern
of that
about
stuff.
Albertville.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not on any of that.
So you guys were really, trying to.
But even before some of those groups appeared, we had been looking at what what can you actually do? As I talked about, I'm a small government kind of guy. I'm a individual freedom kind of guy, and feel like people ought to be able to do within reason what they want with their own property. But I also feel like some of these laws that people will try to propose, as far as like registering residents of a rental property, that's not constitutional, man.
Yeah.
You can't, just like you can't come on knock on my door and ask me to give you the name of every kid I've got in my house. You can't go to somebody that rents a property and do the same thing. It's contrary to our basic constitutional rights.
Right.
And there have been cities that have embraced ideas like that. And we've tried to be very careful not to
Can you give us a
push
city an
laws.
example?
Well, I mean, I don't, I would hesitate to say any specifically, but we actually passed, not our group, but a prior council had passed a rental ordinance that did require things like that, but we weren't enforcing it because of its constitutional, being suspect constitutionally. We had an attorney confirm that for us. So the rental inspection and the business license, those were the things through our research of the law that we had of what can we do to make sure that we got a good system of accountability, not so much about controlling who rents what property, but just ensuring that the properties that are rented, and even ones that aren't, all properties are maintained. Because that's another thing. You can't target a rental property owner and make them do something or hold them to a higher standard of maintenance on their property than you can just
the housing
me,
act, right?
that the house I own.
Yeah.
Because it's not, you have to evenly apply the law. So
Well,
if it's a house that I own and live in, I'm held to the same standard as a house that somebody rents to another person. So you gotta make sure you can't make a law specific to rental properties that you don't apply to
Nathan,
non-rented properties.
I completely see where you're coming from, but I personally feel there has to be a level of accountability because
Absolutely.
you have some that just, whether it's a language barrier, whether it is a knowledge barrier, simply not knowing, but everybody deserves the right to have a place to live.
I
That's
agree.
the very basic in the Maslow's hierarchy laws. I mean, it's the very basic. And when these people do not have the proper education, they do not have the proper language to defend themselves, they're going to go into everything. I mean, right now we can say there is a crisis where rent has skyrocketed.
Sure.
And unfortunately, that's why we have jails, because some people will capitalize on these type of opportunities to enrich themselves,
Sure.
while the little guys, the poor, continues to get poorer and to
Wow.
suffer.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, I understand we got to keep constitutional in mind and how far we
You
can
do.
go, but how do we balance that?
Yeah.
Well, and I think that we're in a good position to find a way to balance that. We have invested more in ordinance enforcement when you talk to making sure that people have livable housing, and that it's safe and safe for their families to live in. When I first got on the council, we had one ordinance officer. You really couldn't call them an officer because they weren't actually a sworn police officer. They did not
But you still have
have
some of those too, right?
post certification. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have 4 ordinance officers,
Mhm.
several of which are APOS certified, so they're an actual police officer that's out there
But they're not
enforcing
sworn in,
our
right?
ordinances. So they are.
This one.
Like the police. I know Matt and Jeremy.
Yeah.
What's the other one?
I guess Matt and Jeremy, and then you got. You're gonna make me remember everybody's name.
Nah, it's fine. Let's skip that. We're almost out of time, but let's move to a different question that everybody's been asking about. Is there any thoughts on further development at the Albertville Regional Airport?
Well, we would. There's actually some interest in property over there right now, and we're always looking for property to expand it. At one time, we were looking with the state to relocate 75 to increase property on the other side of it.
Right.
That project's kind of stalled, so now we're looking on, behind it, and there's always continually work to expand it. ASP has, Aviation Service Partners, has been a great partner.
Is that the
with us.
aviation service with Snead State University?
Well, Snead just purchased the aviation college
Mhm.
building that we we actually built at the airport. Originally, it was another state college that administered it, which didn't work out that well. But during this administration, Tracy worked with Sneed and we got it under their control. So it is run by Sneed State now. And
Yeah,
of
the
course, now
aviation.
they've bought it. And that's a great opportunity for young people
So I can go
to
learn how to fly.
Absolutely. Well, there's lots of places to learn how to fly. That's mainly about aviation maintenance.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. And that's what ASP, the business that has moved out there, that services Delta Airlines and other airlines, they do comprehensive maintenance on these big jets,
Right.
commercial jets. And they're looking to grow jobs out there that are great jobs. And I think the more we can capitalize on that, the better. Because as I said, the growth in Madison County is something that is a real opportunity for us to capitalize on and bring skilled, high-paying jobs to Albertville.
In closing, can you tell the viewers why you well, why should they go vote for you instead of your opponent?
Or I'll focus on
focusing on why you.
I feel like the experience that I've gained over the last 15 years is extremely important and valuable to the citizens of Albertville. To have somebody who's seen the good and the bad, seen what doesn't work and what does work, and is committed to working together as a team to make Albertville strong for all its citizens. I think that's important. And I think you look at the results, to me, you judge things by the results. And I feel like the results over the last, 13 years speak for themselves. The city's finances are better than they've ever been. We've had record setting economic growth. We've got world class recreation facilities. We've got a comprehensive paving strategy. We've given additional resources, raised city employee pay by 75%. With the increased revenue that we've had from all of these developments going to the schools has given them the resources to give teachers a locally funded raise, allowed them to go out and issue $80 million in bonds to build new schools and update our existing schools. I mean, we got good things going. We're not perfect, and like I said, the job's never done with a city. As soon as you fix something, there's something else broken that needs to be fixed. But I feel like we have a good strategy and approach to dealing with those challenges, and we continue to grow the resources that are available to all of us to meet those challenges. So I feel like experience matters, results matter. And I hope that you'll continue to support me as you guys have for
What's
the
your
last 15
slogan
years.
for your campaign? Don't tell me it's make Albertville great again.
It's not. I recycled my council signs from 13 years ago. They said moving Albertville forward. I feel like that's still a pretty good slogan. Keep Albertville moving forward, or building Albertville with purpose. Another good one.
Oh, I like that.
See,
Building Albertville with
the
purpose.
slogan has stayed the same. The progress, the experience, the result shows 13 years later.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of those key investors are looking at this election. Should I invest, or they waiting on those results to come in and invest? And I know one of them, it's like, oh, if we get a guy like Nathan, because I feel like you part of the reason that we have a lot of retails, a lot of retails, a lot of restaurants, a lot of developments, and getting the city back on track. All the stuff we talked about, the bonds rating, um, making Albertville a better place, the roads, for instance. I mean, I feel like you are part of the reason that you play a huge part of that.
Thank you.
So we really appreciate you coming by in the voice of
Glad
the
to
Bill.
do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And here we have it again, guys. August 11th is that deadline to register to vote. August 26th is when you get out there and you vote, have your voice heard. And again, thank you. Thank you and thank you again. The fact that you can come here and sit here with us.
Voice of the Bill.
Voice of the Ville.
Mm-hmm.
And to give us the information and share the information that you have shared with us and the audience that actually is listening. get to know a little bit more about you. I feel like, man, I know Nathan.
Yes.
Nathan's pretty cool. He's a cool dude.
Absolutely.
You know, it's very genuine.
Well, I
very
appreciate
genuine.
you
Very
guys.
genuine.
I
Oh,
feel
you're
like what you're
genuine.
doing is extremely important.
You gotta engage more. Nathan.
Elections matter.
Elections matter.
Nathan, a lot of
Absolutely.
people that's mad at Nathan is because
Nathan, all I'm asking is when I do come see you for the insurance, hook it up. But yeah, again, guys, you guys have heard it. It's huge. And if someone takes the time to come sit with us here at Voice of the Ville, that means something. And for
it's
those
not.
of you, let me just get this out there
Go
real
ahead,
quick.
get out of
You
your.
know, and for those of you who are going for seats, who have not decided to come and sit, and you feel like maybe we don't matter or we don't have a voice, you still have till before the 26th to come and make a difference, have your voice heard. Okay, because whether it's now, 4 years down the line, we will be heard because we are the voice of the Ville.
And we are here, 14,000 views.
Hey, that's just coming out.
We were walking the festival yesterday. Everybody, we were like a local celebrity, you know.
My kids think you're famous because you have a podcast.
Thank you, Nathan.
Now
They're like, man, he's famous.
Go on YouTube. Dad's gonna be on TV now. So
So now I'm famous too. I guess.
I can pay some bills. Shout out to TD commercial. Then he gave me those outfits that I'll be wearing. Completely free, but not free to you guys.
if I may just say one last thing, Nathan Broadhurst helping make Albertville greater than it's ever been.
Thank you. And hopefully Miguel will put his big boy pants on. And
Miguel's on the clock.
Yeah, you're on the clock, Miguel.
Clock's
He's kind of scared to sit with us.
Sometimes they do gotta censure me. It's not enough to say, okay, let's claim the title one minority. To say, well, I'm a minority, and expect that's what you're going to get because you're a minority. Then automatically we're gonna vote. It don't want, at least not my house.
What happened to your sign, man?
I want to hear. I want to hear what's going on. I want you to come tell me. I want you to come and share with me what we're talking about. So the invitation is out there. Let's capitalize on it.
As of right now, Jimmy has changed his Miguel sign to a Nathan sign.
Well, I mean, I've heard what Nathan had to say.
I guess
So
these vandals are still on the loose out here.
Hey, here's the good news, though. Here's the good news. There's still time. There's still time. So, like I said, the one question I'm asking, I'm just gonna have to ask what needs to be changed. And, if there's something, make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Make it make sense. It's not a okay. I gotta shut up before I get in trouble.
Hey, somebody mute his mic now.
Yeah. I'm about to walk out. Hopefully we're not scaring anybody.
Take it easy on him, Jeff. Come on.
Well, shout out to all these good people. Gordo's Way, Lapo Pilar, H&J Automotive.
Rammies
Bill
Landscaping.
Hancock.
Shout out to Angel.
I gotta give Bill Hancock a shout out too, man.
First time Haitian market,
Spilling Tea.
Haitian style cuisine.
Yeah,
That's right.
La Poblana.
Yep.
Shout out to everybody in the Ville. And the voice of the Ville, we're not the voice of the Ville. The voice of the Ville is actually you that's listening. If you got a problem, come solve it on the voice of the Ville, dang it. And this is it for the episode.
And
We
shout
love
out
you
to
guys.
Lisa Patterson.